I was up before the sun, brewing coffee in the kitchen like I did every morning. The house was quiet except for the low hum of the fridge. At exactly 5:41 a.m., Lauren's phone buzzed on the granite next to the toaster. One buzz, then the screen lit up. I glanced over, not thinking anything of it, and there it was. A message preview that slapped me harder than any punch could have. "Counting the minutes till I see you, gorgeous." My thumb twitched. I didn't touch it. I didn't breathe. 21 years of marriage, and I'd never once checked her phone. Not when we were broke, not when we were tired, not when I probably should have. But this was different. At 6 on the dot, her alarm went off. She came in yawning, hair a mess, wearing the same old sleep shirt she always did. Kissed my cheek like nothing had happened, picked up the phone, and slid it away smooth as glass. "Big client breakfast," she said, pouring her coffee. I said nothing. Just watched how quick she double-locked the screen, how she tucked the phone into her purse like it might break if she left it unattended too long. Quick note, before we start, how's your day going, and where are you joining from? That Thursday she came home late, said she had a networking dinner with a vendor rep. I nodded. Nothing new? I went to hang up her coat and felt something crumpled in the inside pocket. Pulled out a receipt. Bistro Arden. 2 entrees, 2 wines, 1 bread pudding. Timestamp, 7:52 p.m. I stood there staring at that thin slip like it was a detonator. I'd grilled ribeyes at home that night. Ate alone, cleaned up alone. She walked in while I was still holding it. "Need something?" she asked, flipping through the mail. Her tone was butter. I slid the receipt into my back pocket like some guilty teenager. "Just checking the pockets before the dry cleaner," she smiled, polite as ever. But her eyes didn't follow. They stayed on the envelopes in her hand. A few days later, I tried logging into her work laptop. Same password it had always been. Our first date and my initials. Access denied, tried 3 more versions, locked out. That's when it hit me. Not just the password change, the shutout, the silence. Her assistant Kelsey started taking my calls. Sweet voice, fake laughs. "Oh, hey, Dean. Lauren's in a meeting. I'll tell her you called." She never told her. She called my wife Lauren, not Ms. Walker. I could hear a giggle just before the line went dead. I told myself I was imagining things. But, let's be honest, deep down, I already knew. She headed upstairs after that kiss, heels clicking soft against the wood like she still had music in her head. I sat on the couch in the dark, pretending to check email, but really just staring at the corner of the TV stand. I kept seeing that necklace. A couple hours earlier, I'd parked 2 blocks away from the hotel, left the truck in a loading zone like I had business there, told myself I'd just swing by, peek in, get it out of my system. The ballroom was on the 2nd floor, gold trim everywhere, floor-length curtains, the kind of place where even the napkins looked expensive. I slipped in through the service corridor behind the main doors, found a corner by the melted edge of an ice sculpture shaped like the company's logo, and scanned the room. Didn't take long. She was across the floor, back to me, navy suit sharp enough to cut glass. Evan was beside her, close, way too close. Kelsey sat on the other side, all smiles and sparkle, playing the role of wingwoman like she'd rehearsed it. I knew Evan, not personally, but I'd seen him, framed in office party photos, tagged in random LinkedIn posts Lauren used to show me. He was one of those guys who always stood with his hands in his pockets, leaning just enough to seem casual. Except now he was leaning into my wife, their knees tucked in under a white tablecloth, like they belonged to each other. She laughed at something he said. Not polite, not forced, real laughter. And right after, her fingers went up and touched that necklace. That necklace. Months before anything seemed wrong, I'd seen it at a jewelry store window while we were out killing time before a movie. White gold, single diamond, quiet elegance, just like her. I said it looked perfect on her. She brushed it off. "Pretty but silly," she said. "Too much for a Tuesday life." Now here it was, catching the ballroom lights like it belonged there. I didn't stay. I slipped out the same way I came in, walked fast back to the truck, and cranked the heat like it could melt whatever was freezing up inside me. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, not from rage, from embarrassment. Like I'd just walked in on a punchline and realized I was the setup. Back home, I didn't turn on the lights, just sat. Waited. She came in close to midnight, cheeks flushed, lipstick a little smudged, hair still smelling like the expensive perfume I'd given her for Father's Day. "Event ran long," she said, dropping her clutch by the front door like she owned every inch of the lie. I watched her walk over, unplug her charger, and flip her phone face down on the nightstand like muscle memory. "Big week coming," she added, then leaned in, kissed me fast, barely touched my lips, and headed upstairs. I nodded once, no words, no questions. But I swear to God, that was the moment the line between dumb trust and sharp clarity snapped. I didn't believe in coincidences anymore. 2 weeks later, early April, rain coming down like it meant it, I pulled into the driveway with fence posts rattling in the bed of the truck. I'd told her I was going to the hardware store. She barely looked up from her laptop. I came in through the garage, boots wet, arms full, and I stopped cold. Her voice. She was on speaker in the home office. Door cracked just enough to hear what I wasn't meant to. "Couple more months and it's clean," she said, cool, confident, like she was talking about sweeping up after a dinner party. "He won't fight. He never does." Evan's voice came through, casual and smug. "Kels lined up the attorney consults. We'll push the separation first, then file. You'll look reasonable. He'll look confused." I stood there frozen, rain dripping off my jacket, my hand pressed flat to the hall closet door just to stay upright. Lauren said, "He is. He thinks I'm still deciding about counseling." And then she laughed, that low, private kind of laugh that used to belong to Sunday mornings and inside jokes. Now it was going to Evan. They kept going, like I didn't even exist. "The assets are already positioned," she said. "Once it's official, he gets whatever's left in checking. That's it." That sentence burned a hole through my chest. Not the cheating, not the lies. It was the planning. I wasn't even a person to her anymore. I was a problem she'd already solved. I backed up slow, careful not to make a sound, took the long way around the house and came in through the garage again, like I'd just gotten home. Dropped the fence posts on the workbench and sat on the tailgate. The rain kept hitting the concrete outside like it was clapping for her. You want to know the worst part? I wasn't shocked. That's how far things had already gone. I didn't yell, didn't throw a damn thing. I just sat there. When your wife turns you into a line item on a spreadsheet, you've got two choices: fold or get louder. I've never been one for drama. I don't scream. I don't throw scenes in kitchens or throw fists in bars. That's never been me. But that day, something inside me shifted hard. She thought I was soft, predictable, weak. She thought I'd nod along like I always did and quietly disappear into the background of my own life. I wiped the rain off my sleeves, grabbed my phone, and looked up every divorce attorney in the county. The next morning, I drove past her office at 6:55 a.m. and parked across from Spinelli's. Victor Hale, the calculator. Her co-founder, the one who never smiled in the company photos. Lauren used to joke he was half human, half spreadsheet. I remembered hearing something last summer about his divorce blowing up over trust issues. Now I figured that meant betrayal in a language he understood. Money. I watched him through the window. Same booth, same setup. Legal pad, black coffee he never touched. Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 to 10 a.m. Sharp. I went 3 times before I moved. Third Friday, I walked in like it was coincidence. Ordered a drip, wandered over. "Vic," I said, playing the part. "Didn't expect to see you here." He didn't pretend. "You want to talk about Lauren?" Just like that. No bullshit. I nodded and sat across from him like I was interviewing for the right to keep my own name. He closed his notebook, slid it aside. "Start." I laid out what I knew, not how I felt, what I knew. The late nights, the blocked laptop, the text message, the receipt, the necklace. I didn't whine, didn't get theatrical, just facts. When I finished, he tapped his pen once against the pad. Then he talked. "She's been moving money." He spoke like he was reading off a report he already filed. From healthy contracts to advisory retainers, no deliverables, just invoices. "Shells?" I asked. He nodded. "Looks that way. Vendor accounts that don't align with tax entries. A consultancy in Tampa with a P.O. box and 0 staff. Billed twice right before the quarter close." He reached down and pulled out a folder from his bag. slid it across the table like it was a menu. "You'll want that." I opened it. Charts, screenshots, 2 emails with subject lines scrubbed out, but timestamps intact. Transfers, payments, even one listing, K. Harmon in the CC line. I dropped my own envelope on the table, pictures of the necklace under ballroom lights, that bistro receipt. A calendar log I'd made of every late-night return matched against her Outlook meetings. "She's not just planning the divorce," I said. "Kelsey's coordinating the consults. Her words, not mine." Victor's jaw flexed, not angry, activated, like a safe cracking open. "Figures," he muttered. "She's been edging me out of key decisions for months, rescheduled the last 3 board reviews, told me the Cayman account was temporary." He didn't need to say more. "If she's repositioning assets while planning to file, that's fraud," he said, tapping the folder. "If she used company channels, that's worse. Securities violations, real ones." He looked me dead in the eye. "You still have access to her home office?" I nodded once. "Then here's what we do. No drama, no scenes. We build a clean record, documents, dates, files, timestamp everything. You get in, you get out, you leave it how you found it." He paused. "You with me?" I didn't blink. "I'm with you." I started packing her lunches again. Turkey with provolone. Always a piece of dark chocolate, her favorite, like I was still trying. She smiled when she saw them. "You're being sweet," she said one morning, eyes squinting like she didn't trust it. "Just trying to keep things normal," I told her. And I was, just not for the reason she thought. At home, I moved slower, calmer, like nothing had changed. I asked how her meetings went. I listened when she listed clients I'd never heard of before. I made sure my face stayed even, like we were 2 office drones stuck on the same floor pretending to care about each other's weekend. But inside, I was logging every move. Her home office had a gray filing cabinet tucked behind the printer, never locked. 3rd drawer was where she got lazy. Strategy workshop printouts with no workshop. Invoices labeled brand expansion with dates that matched flights she never told me about. Credit card statements with boutique charges stapled to vendor reports. I took pictures of everything. Did it quiet, quick, and dumb. Like I didn't know what I was doing. Victor told me not to organize, not to clean up after myself. "Leave it sloppy," he texted. "Let them think the chaos is theirs. They relax when they think you're stupid." I used a burner phone I bought at a strip mall for $49, cash. Taped a piece of cardboard over the shutter so it wouldn't click. Kept it inside an old tackle box under my workbench, next to the oil-stained gloves she never touched. One night, I found a folded paper trail inside a gift bag she'd shoved in the closet. Cayman bank instructions, hidden under a birthday card from 2 years ago. The kind with glitter that gets everywhere. There was a yellow sticky note on the transfer form. "Kay handled the wire. Destroy this." She meant Kelsey. She didn't destroy it. I took a picture and almost laughed. Victor's reply was one line. "She's cocky, that helps." I started laying breadcrumbs, made a loud call in the kitchen with my brother, right when she was unloading groceries. "Yeah, I don't know, man," I said. "Some weird investment docs came across my desk. Might need an accountant to look it over. Real odd stuff." I watched her freeze for a second before pretending to care about frozen peas. Next day, I left a forensic accounting pamphlet open on the dining table, one I picked up from Victor's lawyer contact. She didn't ask about it, but she did spend 5 full minutes explaining nothing over dinner. "Board's overwhelmed," she said, dabbing her mouth like it was a press conference. "Strategy pivots, global exposure, all of it. You wouldn't believe the chaos." I didn't respond. I just chewed slow. 2 days later, Victor texted me again. "She's moving too fast. Transfers pinged. Good." That was the game. We weren't trying to stop her. We wanted her confident, sloppy. Sure that I was still the fool who grilled ribeyes for one. Every lie she told now came with a timestamp. Every document she buried became a breadcrumb. And she had no clue who was following the trail. The papers landed on my porch that Tuesday at 9:14 a.m., just like Victor predicted. Courier in a blue windbreaker, clipboard in hand, smiling like he didn't know he was delivering a gut punch. I signed, sat at the kitchen table, tore the envelope open, and read every page like it owed me an apology. Lauren's version of our marriage was creative. She called me financially naive and unemployed by choice. Said she'd carried the weight of our future while I focused on hobbies. That hobby was my carpentry outfit. 8 steady clients, a 2-month wait list, and a crew that looked to me every morning at 7:30. But apparently working with your hands doesn't count when someone's rewriting history with a 600 an hour pen. The settlement offer was insulting. 8 months of rent in some shoebox apartment and a handshake goodbye. She kept the house, the retirement accounts, the equity in her company, everything. I didn't call a real lawyer, not yet. I hired Gerald Boone, cheap, overfed, and semi-retired. Every guy in my bowling league had a story about him screwing up paperwork or falling asleep in mediation. I picked him on purpose. Meanwhile, 3 nights in a row, I met after hours with Denise Park. She looked like a librarian, but had the brain of a wrecking ball. She didn't ask how I was feeling. She asked for folders, passwords, timestamps. She took notes like a surgeon charting a bypass. Officially, she was a consultant. In reality, she was a forensic specialist Victor trusted more than anyone. Court day came fast. I wore the same navy suit I'd worn to my nephew's wedding, too tight in the shoulders now. I added a box of tissues to my pocket and didn't iron the shirt too well. Looked like a guy who just wanted to move on. Boone mumbled his way through the intro. Lauren's attorney, some firm type with plastic-perfect hair, grinned like the check had already cleared. The judge looked bored. I nodded at everything, agreed to every line they thought I was too tired to understand. "I just want to be fair," I said. "Lauren built so much." The judge smiled like I was a model ex-husband. Boone looked surprised I'd said something complete. Lauren squeezed my shoulder on the way out, like we'd just wrapped a community theater play. I let her. She didn't see the clause Denise slipped in, tucked between sections on asset finality and third-party financials. A quiet little line that redefined legitimate to exclude anything created through fraud or concealment. In plain English, if it was dirty, it was off the table. The ink dried on it that afternoon. Lauren left with victory in her eyes, ready to pop champagne and call her accountant. I left with a signed plan, backed by evidence, ready to burn every lie she built down to the foundation. The next morning at 9 sharp, Victor walked into the boardroom and took Lauren's chair like it had always belonged to him. No permission asked, no smiles given. He plugged in the projector remote and faced the room. 10 suits, 3 laptops already open, nobody looking up. "We have a problem," he said. Click. Up came invoices, Tampa P.O. box, wire transfers to an offshore account, all labeled consulting. Click. Emails. Kelsey's company address coordinating transfers to bundle before close. One even said, "Push this week, timing's tight." I sat in the back corner, not in the spotlight, not on the payroll, just the guy who waived the foreign assets. I didn't need to follow every word. The board did, and they did not look okay. One guy near the end of the table muttered, "That's my sign-off." Another leaned in like he wanted to disappear behind his laptop. Victor stayed calm. His voice never broke pattern. "These funds left without proper audit trails. Some appear structured to avoid standard review. The dates," he paused, "align with key points in Ms. Walker's divorce timeline." Another click. Yesterday, her ex-husband, his eyes flicked to me, waived rights to foreign advisory assets. He let that hang. Lauren didn't sit. She stood beside the whiteboard, arms crossed, blazer sharp, jaw tighter than I'd ever seen it. "This is a selective reading," she snapped. "We diversified risk. That's our job." Victor clicked again. Up came calendar screenshots, late-night strategy sessions with Evan. Time-stamped wires matched to the hour. Expense reports labeled working dinner from a bistro I knew too well. And then, the kicker. A photo of a handwritten sticky note. K, move Cayman wire before board meets. Silence. One of the older board members finally spoke. "Is that Kelsey's handwriting?" No one answered out loud. They didn't have to. A vote moved around the room like a slow wave, one by one. Heads nodded, shoulders stiffened. Nobody defended her. Victor said, "It plain." Lauren Walker is suspended as CEO pending full forensic audit. Lauren opened her mouth again, but nothing came out. She scanned the room for a lifeline, found none. Security came in without a word, not rough, not rushed, just efficient. She was escorted out in under 2 minutes. By lunchtime, Kelsey's badge stopped working. An intern caught her trying to print something in the copy room. She left in tears. HR placed Evan on leave pending review. He didn't show his face again. By dinner, the whole circle knew. And in their world, once you're known for one thing, fraud, you're done. Recruiters stopped calling. Panel invites vanished. Even her mentor from grad school posted a vague statement about organizational integrity. I got one text from Victor, just 3 words. Phase 2 complete. I set the phone down, didn't smile, didn't gloat. I just let out the breath I'd been holding since April. A month later, I was out front reseeding the lawn, patching the dead spot where her old bocce set used to sit like a monument to fake memories. The doorbell rang. She stood there with a plastic-wrapped bouquet of grocery store tulips like she was stopping by for a damn casserole exchange. "Can we talk?" she asked. Her voice was smaller, hair pulled back too tight. That suit, the gray one she wore when she needed to look in control, hung loose at the shoulders now, like she'd lost weight or just didn't feel it the same. I let her in, not out of kindness, out of preference. I like endings with the lights on. She sat on the edge of the couch, like she thought this was some type of negotiation. I forgot what mattered. I made mistakes. We can build something better. It was all smooth and slow, like a practice speech. No stuttering, no apologies either. Just framing. I didn't say a word, just let the silence stretch so long she started to think it meant something. Then I walked to the cabinet, pulled out the folder, and dropped it on the coffee table between us. 3 things inside. A printed email where she called me the easy exit. A bank statement showing a $185,000 wire, sent 2 days after I asked if she wanted to spend a weekend in Asheville, and a calendar printout. The entry said, "Attorney, final numbers." Her hand hovered above the folder, like touching it would confirm something she didn't want to admit. I looked her dead in the face. "You didn't just cheat," I said. "You ran a play. You figured I'd nod along like always. That's on me." I leaned forward. "But the rest, the fraud, the lies, you did that free and clear." She opened her mouth, tried that soft, breathy voice she used when she used to want something. I let her finish, didn't respond. She stood, left the tulips, and the room felt smaller when she walked out. Victor called that night. "Audit's nearly done," he said. "Charges may come. You okay?" "Yeah," I told him. "Not happy, but I'm good." I started sleeping again, not dreaming, just real rest. Took a part-time contract building custom tables for a little restaurant over on the east side. Clean work, paid cash. Now I say yes to things I actually want. This winter, I saw Kelsey by the freezer case at the discount grocery. She had a cart full of clearance wine and no mascara on. We locked eyes for a second. She looked down first. I kept walking.